Molecules. They make up pretty much everything, from your shoes to the gasoline in your car. Molecules are a very important part of life. But did you know that you're also made up of molecules? That's right, you're just a collection of matter on a tiny rock floating in the middle of space. More specifically, you're made up of a collection of very big macromolecules, which are organic molecules produced by living organisms and contain a large number of these little things called atoms. Most commonly, these atoms are hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus, although there are plenty of other kinds throughout the body. Macromolecules are formed by little pieces called monomers. When many of these monomers get together, they create polymers, hence the prefix poly. When monomers combine together, they do so in a process called dehydration synthesis, which removes a water molecule between monomers. When the opposite happens, a water molecule is split between two monomers, breaking the two apart. There are four main types of macromolecules that make up you. We have water, earth, fire, air. Long ago, the four nations lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Our first macromolecule is known as a carbohydrate, or a carb for short. Carbs are best known for their use as a quick energy source for the body, but they can also store energy and act as cell structure for things like chitin or plant cell wall. Like how atoms make up molecules, carbohydrates are made up of saccharides. When by themselves, they are just monosaccharides, mono is in one, but when they come together into two, they become disaccharides. Any more than that, and you've got yourself a polysaccharide. So now that you know what carbohydrates are, you may be wondering why you don't see carbohydrates listed as an ingredient in your cake. Well, my friend, have I got some news for you. You see that cup of sugar you need to add to your cake? Well, that's a carb. And that cup of flour you're about to add is also a large source of carbohydrates as well. You see, carbohydrates are everywhere. They're just in many different forms. More simple carbs, such as carbs made of monosaccharides and disaccharides, tend to form simple sugars such as fructose, glucose, and lactose, while complex carbs made from polysaccharides tend to form starches. If you want to gain a lot of carbs though, say for sports, the best foods you could eat would be pastas and bread.
Hey, fatty acid, get over here, you fatty.
Fine, I will, but you don't gotta be mean about it. Glycerol, am I right? Well, our next macromolecules are known as lipids, or more commonly, fats. Lipids are used by the body for cell membranes, protection, insulation, and long-term energy storage. They are hydrophobic, meaning they don't like to mix with water, as shown in this demonstration here. Fats are made up of triglycerides, which are made up of glycerol and fatty acids, and these come together to form three different kinds of fats. Now, if you've read a nutrition label, you've probably heard of these before. Unsaturated fats, saturated, and trans fats. What's the difference? Well, it's kind of complicated, but it basically all comes down to their chemistry. Fats are found a lot in different meats, oils, dairy products, and me during the summer of 2023. While fat is notorious for being, bad, it is important that you know what kinds are bad and how much you should generally consume. Generally, it's best to avoid trans fats at all costs. A little bit of saturated fats are okay, but your best kinds are your unsaturated fats, which are usually found in oil form. These are the least unhealthy fats if you overconsume them like the rest of America does. Now that I've got you all worked up about getting fat, you're probably wanting to visit the gym. Well, this section is just for you as we're entering proteins. Now, proteins are made up of amino acids, which are its monomers. The deciding factor for the kind of amino acid falls in the R group of the molecule. Together, these amino acids can form four types of protein structures based on complexity and chemical bonds. First, you have your primary structure, then your secondary structure. In the secondary structure, chains of amino acids begin to fold into two different shapes called alpha helixes and beta pleated sheets. They continue to fold into tertiary structures, then finally into quaternary structures, which are the most complex of the four. Think of it almost like a molecular origami of sorts. Now that you know all the complex parts of protein structure, it's finally time to understand what they do. Proteins serve many functions throughout the body, including making enzymes, supporting the immune system, transporting system information, and motion. This is why, when taken in conjunction with carbohydrates, Bodybuilders often consume a lot of protein after working out. Protein is often found in stuff like meats, especially your red meats, soy, dairy, and eggs. Finally, there is one last macromolecule that makes up just about every living thing out there. I'm talking about nucleic acids. No, not that kind of nucleic. Nucleic acids are made up of nucleotides which fit together like organic puzzle pieces. These nucleotides contain a phosphate group and a nitrogen base. It's mainly this part that determines what kind of nucleotide makes up part of a nucleic acid. There are three kinds of nucleic acids that make up your body: DNA, RNA, and ATP. DNA is basically a genetic code that your body can't really read. Picture it like when you try to read the Minecraft enchantment table. It just doesn't work. RNA takes DNA and turns it into a readable code that is then turned into an amino acid chain and a protein. ATP only really serves the purpose of quick energy, so it's more like a carbohydrate than anything else, but it's still technically a nucleic acid. Now I'm guessing you probably know what's next. I'm going to go and tell you what foods are high in nucleic acids. But here's the thing, I don't have to. That mac and cheese you had for lunch today, the eggs you had for breakfast, or the cheeseburger you're going to have for supper all contain nucleic acids. Almost everything you eat has them in them, and your body already makes enough on its own so that you don't even have to worry about consuming them because they are everywhere. So to recap, you're made of 4 giant macromolecules: carbohydrates for energy, fats for insulation and structure, proteins for chemical processes, and nucleic acids for information. That's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next biology project.